First, I want to say a couple small things about education. I could do a whole episode. I could write a huge, huge book on this, but other people have done it better than me. The couple things I want to say is, one, there's data out there that people are not getting out of college and getting amazing jobs. The data out there is that people are getting at the end of this education that they spent a bunch of money for. Either they spent their own money, they've borrowed money, they spent their parents' savings, etc. And they're not finding jobs that are any better than what they could have had before. And I think the type of education we have, it's not forming you. It's not making you someone who's a fuller person, more able to express themselves, more able to be creative. It's not about the formation of a person. It's about the making of a cog in the industrial machine. So, that said, also there's some data out there, and this is always conflicting depending on who gives it to you, but the idea that it's not worth as much as it used to be. Education used to be worth about $1 million in your lifetime, and now it's really not. Maybe 300,000 is a kind of a middle number that I found. The math basically works this way. One group of people will say, okay, here are the jobs you need to have an education for. This is what you make. Here are the jobs you don't have to have an education for. And here's what you make. The difference multiplied over a lifetime, that's what it's worth. The difference between the lower and the higher paying job. That's what the college degree is worth. Problem is that it doesn't take into consideration a lot of people get out of college and don't get a job that need the college degree. At the end of the day, when you're thinking about educating yourself, you need to take the education that will help you be the person you want to be, not become a cog in the machine. Now, you may not make as much money as everyone else, but your quality of life, not your quantity, your quality will be better. And that's anarchism, quality of life, and not a reduction to quantity. This is a subject that always comes up in anarchist circles. Recently, there's been a lot in the news, especially concerning the LA killings by cops. There's been a lot of attention on that, I think because it's LA and there's been direct action involved. And I'll link the stories, but most of these stories are very obviously police aggression, police shooting first, asking questions later, and that is a symptom of the police state. People have argued with me that, okay, it's not really that bad. It's not their fault because they're afraid of the violence that they have to deal with on a daily basis. Well, again, that is a part of the police state. You repress a group, there's going to be violence. So what I want to say on top of that is that this happens everywhere. It just doesn't happen in LA or Boston or Seattle or Toronto or whatever. This happens in small towns. And it's not always killings. A lot of times it's repression through false accusations or pressure for cops to get cases resolved. So they'll just pick anybody. And this type of misjustice or injustice is different from someone blaming someone else and there being that whole issue. I'm talking about from the police. And this is something that if you're in a small town, if you're in a medium town or a huge town, you need to make some noise about this kind of thing. Next, I want to talk about a story that comes out of Georgia. Basically, a man went to a hospital, demanded mental health care, and when they wouldn't give it to him, he took hostages. After his surrender, he told authorities that he had plans to kill Barack Obama and President Bill Clinton. A couple of the issues with this is that he was an ex-soldier, and they also found a lot of manuals and paraphernalia that he could have used to take action on these plans. He is going to be tried, even though it's clearly obvious that he needed mental help and he was asking for mental help. This is a failure. This is a failure of our society. This is definitely a failure of the military. The fact that this person would go have these experiences and come back and not receive this mental health care to the point that he felt he needed to take hostages to get this mental health care, it's damning, at least. I think the minor action that can be taken here, one, we need to stand up and say this is inappropriate. This has to be something we talk about and not talk about it in their way. If you read the story, it really makes it out to be this guy's fault. And I think it's very obviously not all this guy's fault. He went there to get help. and then now he's going to be tried. That are helping veterans cope. There are a lot of groups out there that are helping people who are in the military to cope. And then there's a lot of groups out there, many of them made of veterans, who are protesting the war and protesting the way that people are dealt with when they come back. Thanks for watching. This week basically was me blabbing at this computer webcam and hopefully editing it together in such a way that made some sense. All the issues that I've talked about will be in the little thing below at some point. If you notice, it's not the best quality. My camera broke this week, which made me late getting this video up and definitely changed the look of everything. I was going for a green screen, but I think I'm just going to put a background up and I'm going to videotape it. This is about what I have to say, not so much about me being an amazing video editor. Thank you for your time. I'll see you next week. And you wasted your life on this.